The grand conclave of the Zalosian hegemony hung in a perpetual twilight, its colossal, multi-tiered platforms crafted from a living, tessellated obsidian that absorbed all ambient light, reflecting only the shimmering data streams that wove intricate tapestries across the vast dome above. Air, thick with the scent of ionized ozone and the faint, organic musk of Zalosian biosensors, resonated with the low hum of ancient power conduits, a constant reminder of the Empire's enduring might. Within this solemn expanse, before the collective gaze of the high senators and the imperial praetors, a chilling silence had fallen, broken only by the rhythmic, heavy thrum of the chamber's core oscillator, a sound that usually signified deliberation, but now pulsed with an undeniable undercurrent of dread. The central projection, a shimmering, emerald-hued rendering of the galactic spiral arm, flickered with an anomalous crimson flare, pulsating from a region long designated the Silent Nebula, an expanse of space once vibrant with nascent stellar nurseries, but now devoid of any known intelligent life signatures for 10 millennia. Praetor Vilas, his crystalline exoskeleton shimmering with suppressed agitation, pivoted on the central platform, his 4 manipulatory limbs gesturing towards the ominous flare. His species, the Kyler, renowned for their martial discipline and unyielding resolve, rarely permitted such visible displays of disquiet. The Vanguard, a vessel of humble exploratory designation, entered the perimeter, a standard deep space reconnaissance ordered by the Outer Rim Mandate, approved through routine protocols. It should have been unremarkable, yet its presence has agitated the very fabric of that forbidden void. His voice, a resonant multi-tonal chord, filled the chamber, imbued with an authority that typically brokered no dissent. We received its final, fragmented transmission cycles ago, a deep scan report indicating an energy signature of impossible scale and sophistication, a structure dormant for countless millennia now stirring. Senator Thuron, a being of the elder Zalosian lineage, his form a graceful, serpentine coil adorned with intricate ceremonial bindings, shifted slowly on his elevated dais. His multiple ocular clusters, usually placid and observant, narrowed with a profound gravity. Stirring, Praetor Vilas, or awakened, there is a critical distinction. For 10,000 cycles, that region of space has been a void, a silent monument to an ancient galactic decree. The Silent Nebula was not merely a designation, it was a pact, a solemn agreement amongst the nascent stellar powers to leave untouched what we did not comprehend. The species once believed to reside there, they vanished, utterly, without trace. No residual radiation, no debris fields, no final, desperate pleas, just silence. A silence so profound it echoed through time itself, chilling all who dared to contemplate it. Thuron's voice, a soft, undulating hum, carried in weight of history and wisdom that subtly countered Vilas's more direct assertiveness. Now, a single exploratory craft, operating on an approved routine protocol, has breached that ancient pact, and in doing so has apparently disturbed that slumber. What, Praetor, do you propose we do with the consequences of such an egregious transgression? A wave of murmuring swept through the assembled conclave. The concept of an ancient pact, a foundational pillar of galactic diplomacy, was not to be trifled with. For millennia, the Zalosian hegemony had been the primary custodian of galactic order, its influence spanning countless systems, its power undeniable. But even their vast might had always respected the profound enigma of the Silent Nebula. Whispers of humanity rippled through the chamber, a name that evoked more myth than memory, a species known only through fragmented historical conjecture and cautionary tales of an impossible technological zenith, followed by an equally impossible disappearance. The very sound of the word, uttered in hushed tones, carried the weight of the unknown, the terrifying possibility of an intelligence that had transcended the conventional definitions of power and presence. Praetor Vilas's carapace vibrated with an internal tension. The Vanguard's mission was to gather data, Senator, not to provoke. Its crew are seasoned navigators, not fools. Their last fragmented report indicated that the structure, immense beyond comprehension, began to emit focused energy pulses after their probes initiated their deep scan sequence. It was a reaction, Senator, not an unprovoked assault. We are dealing with an unknown. To merely withdraw, to ignore this awakening, would be to invite a deeper, more insidious threat. The Vanguard has reported a field, growing in intensity, surrounding the activated structure. It is currently unable to disengage its warp drives, trapped within this strange, nascent energy web. We must act. Act, Preet. Or but how? intoned Archcustodian Cathar, a being of pure thought projected through a shimmering energy matrix, its voice a symphony of overlapping ethereal harmonics. The history scrolls speak of the first silence, a period following the complete disappearance of the human species. Entire sectors of space simply ceased to contain them. No war, no famine, no cataclysm, just absence. Our understanding of their technology, even in its most archaic forms, suggested capabilities that bordered on the reality-bending. To provoke such an entity, if indeed it has re-emerged, would be an act of galactic-scale folly. The Vanguard is dangerous, not because of its intent, but because it has awoken something that may be far, far more dangerous. We must, with all haste, initiate a recall sequence for the Vanguard, to extricate it from that volatile zone before its continued presence is interpreted as an act of aggression. Vilas recoiled, his manipulatory limbs twitching. Recall, Archcustodian, the Vanguard is presently ensnared. Its pilot, Captain Alara, reported critical systems failing, gravimetric distortion fields rendering propulsion inert. And even if we could recall it, what message does that send? That we retreat from the unknown, that the Zalosian hegemony cowers before a phantom of the past. The cultural pride of the Kyler was deeply ingrained. Retreat was not an option, especially when facing an unknown entity. It sends a message of prudence, Praetor, of wisdom, Thuron interjected, his voice a balm against Vilas's rising ire. It sends a message that we value galactic stability above impulsive pride. We are dealing with a potential reemergence of a species that, by all accounts, transcended our current understanding of material existence. Their disappearance was a phenomenon. Their return, if this indeed is their return, would be a cataclysm. We must not be the architects of that cataclysm through impatience or arrogance. The Vanguard has become an accidental catalyst. It has become, by its very continued presence, a dangerous ship. Its recall, if achievable, is paramount. We must attempt to disengage it, even if it means sacrificing its mission data, even if it means a temporary withdrawal of our presence in that sector. This is not about cowering, Praetor. It is about strategic foresight on a galactic scale. The debate raged for cycles within the conclave chamber. The air grew heavier, thick with the conflicting pressures of tradition, pride, and an encroaching, primal fear of the utterly unknown. Data streams projected fragmented sensor readings, gravimetric eddies forming around the activated structure, energy spikes reaching unprecedented levels, yet with no destructive output. It was as if a dormant star had suddenly begun to coalesce, not in a fiery burst, but in a slow, inexorable hum of pure potential. The Vanguard's distress calls, once desperate, grew sporadic, then faded into intermittent bursts of static, a testament to the growing field of interference. The very act of recalling the Vanguard became a desperate race against time, not just to save a crew, but to prevent an accidental war. Praetor Vilas, despite his initial resistance, could not ignore the escalating reports. His own military strategists, grim-faced, conceded the impossibility of a rescue fleet navigating the burgeoning gravimetric distortions around the anomaly without risking an even larger confrontation. The risks far outweighed any potential glory. Very well, Vilas conceded, his multitonal voice laced with a bitter resentment. Initiate recall protocols, remote override attempts. If the Vanguard can be disengaged, even without crew, it must be removed from the immediate vicinity of that artifact. The words tasted like ash. To abandon a crew, even for the greater galactic good, was anathema to Kyler principles. Thuron inclined his serpentine form slightly, a gesture of solemn acknowledgement. A wise, albeit agonizing, decision, Praetor. Sometimes the greatest strength lies in restraint, in understanding the limits of one's own comprehension. We are about to touch upon something ancient, something profound. We must do so with utmost humility. His ocular clusters turned back to the pulsing emerald projection, the crimson flare now growing brighter, more insistent. The silence of 10 millennia was breaking, not with a roar, but with a deep, resonant vibration that seemed to promise both wonder and unfathomable peril. The conclave watched, helpless, as the Vanguard's signature flickered erratically, trapped within the energy embrace of the awakening Leviathan. The ancient human silence was ending, and the galaxy held its collective breath. The silence that had enveloped the Vanguard was not the vacuum of space, but a profound, oppressive quiet, a stillness that preceded a storm of unimaginable magnitude. Captain Alara, her multifaceted eyes straining against the dim, emergency lighting of the bridge, felt the tremor through the deck plating as the gravimetric field from the colossal structure outside tightened its grip. The Vanguard, a nimble deep space scout, was now a dead weight, locked in an invisible snare, its engines straining futilely against an unseen force. She could see the structure, immense and shadowy, filling her viewport, an artifact of impossibly smooth, dark alloy stretching beyond the visual horizon, a colossal cylinder of impossible dimensions, its surface now slowly revealing intricate, flowing patterns of light, like blood pulsing beneath ancient skin. It had been inert for so long, a ghost in the cosmic graveyard, now vibrant with a barely contained power. Hull integrity dropping in sections 3 through 7. Lieutenant Cathon's voice, usually crisp and precise, was laced with a desperate tremor. Gravimetric shears exceeding structural tolerances. We are being torn apart, Captain. Maintain stabilization fields, Alara commanded, her own voice steady, a practiced veneer over a heart hammering with a primal existential fear. Attempt to reroute primary power to thrusters, override all safety protocols, we will disengage. But even as she spoke, she knew it was a futile gesture. The force holding them was beyond their understanding, a gentle yet inexorable pressure that threatened to unravel the very molecular bonds of their vessel. This was not an attack. It was a demonstration of absolute control, a subtle caress that promised pulverization if resisted. Suddenly a new sound, deep and resonant, vibrated through the ship's comms, bypassing all filters. It was not a voice, not a language, but a pure, unadulterated frequency, a fundamental tone that resonated within the very core of her being. It was complex, layered, seemingly infinite in its information density, yet utterly incomprehensible. It felt ancient, vast, and imbued with an alien logic that defied categorization. The crimson flare on the conclave's projection must have been this signal, raw and unfiltered. Captain, the structure, it's projecting something, Cathon gasped, pointing a trembling digit at the main screen. The colossal cylinder, previously a uniform, featureless black, now pulsed with soft, internal luminosity, revealing geometrically perfect patterns that shifted and reformed with hypnotic grace. From its center, a beam of pure, incandescent white light lanced forth, not aimed at the vanguard, but towards the distant, galactic core, a beacon of impossible intensity that seemed to pierce through the very fabric of space. It was a signal, a calling not to the vanguard, but to something far, far beyond. Then the gravimetric field shifted. The crushing pressure eased not suddenly, but with a slow, deliberate grace like a vast hand opening. The vanguard lurched, free of its invisible shackles, then drifted slowly away from the colossal structure, its engines sputtering, barely functional. Alara stared, transfixed, as the immense artifact, now revealed in its entirety as a titanic, cylindrical vessel, began to rotate, its intricate patterns of light coalescing into what looked like vast, orbital rings, slowly spinning around a central, glowing core. This was not a derelict station. It was an arcship, a vessel of immeasurable scale, a city of the stars, its slumber broken, and it was moving. Slowly, majestically, it began to accelerate, not towards the vanguard, but in the direction of its newly projected beacon, a silent, implacable momentum building as it carved a path through the silent nebula towards the galactic core. Back in the conclave, the screens erupted with a torrent of new data. The Vanguard's signature was free, drifting, but the source of the anomaly, the colossal human vessel, was now in motion. Its trajectory, projected on the Emerald Galaxy map, was precise, deliberate, and alarmingly direct. "It moves with purpose," Thuron observed, his voice hushed with a mixture of awe and apprehension. "Not towards us, not away, towards the heart of the galaxy. Its wake shows no disruption, no lingering energy residue. It simply moves." Praetor Vilas's expression was grim. "The Vanguard is damaged, but its crew is alive. Its retreat was not our doing, but an act of that entity, a release. It allowed us to withdraw, but why? What is its intent? To move a vessel of that scale after 10,000 years of dormancy, the power requirements are beyond our current understanding. This is not a mere reawakening, senators. This is a resurgence." The debate reignited, now with an even greater intensity, tempered by a fresh wave of fear. The unknown was no longer passive. It was active, moving with an undeniable will. Some voices advocated for immediate military mobilization to track, to intercept, to understand by force if necessary. Others, led by Thuron, urged extreme caution, emphasizing the deliberate release of the Vanguard as a sign, perhaps, of non-aggression, or at least of a different kind of logic. "It permitted our vessel to escape," Thuron reiterated, his voice rising above the clamor. "It did not destroy, it did not pursue. It merely initiated its own journey. This is not the action of a hostile power seeking to assert dominance through immediate aggression. This is the action of a power that has a larger, more profound objective. To engage it militarily now without understanding its intent would be a catastrophic error. We must communicate. We must attempt contact, not with weapons, but with diplomacy, with questions, with a genuine desire for comprehension. The conclave, though shaken, was swayed by the undeniable evidence of the Solara primes, as the human vessel was now tentatively designated calculated actions. The ability to trap and release a starship with such effortless grace, without a single hostile act, was a display of power more unnerving than any open attack. It suggested a level of control, a depth of foresight that transcended conventional warfare. A diplomatic mission was approved with Senator Thuron, despite his Zalosian species' traditional aversion to direct physical interaction with the truly alien, nominated to lead it. His calm demeanor, his philosophical insights, and his unwavering belief in the power of understanding were deemed essential. The Aegis, a diplomatic cruiser designed for first contact protocols, sleek and unarmed, detached from the Zalosian homeworld's orbital array and began its long, cautious journey towards the silent nebula, tracking the inexorable path of the Solara Prime. Its mission was fraught with peril, a journey into the heart of an ancient enigma. The fate of the hegemony, perhaps even the galaxy, rested on the ability of one Zalosian diplomat to bridge a chasm of 10,000 years of silence and an abyss of alien thought. As the Aegis traversed the vast, star-strewn expanse, the magnitude of its mission weighed heavily upon Senator Thuron. His chamber within the diplomatic cruiser was sparse, dedicated to contemplation. Holographic projections of ancient star charts flickered around him, showing the slow, meticulous expansion of the Zalosian hegemony, the rise and fall of countless species, the myriad civilizations that had blossomed and withered in the cosmic dance. And always at the edge of known space, the black, enigmatic expanse of the silent nebula, a constant, unchanging void until now. The Solara Prime was no longer a theoretical threat, but a physical manifestation, a colossal presence broadcasting its intent through sheer, undeniable momentum. Its course remained unwavering, a straight line towards the dense galactic core, a trajectory that intersected myriad established trade routes, burgeoning stellar empires, and fragile neutral zones. The potential for accidental collisions, for misunderstandings, for pangalactic panic, was immense. The Solara Prime's continuous, complex signal, which had baffled Zalosian linguists and xenosemanticists, was a source of endless fascination and frustration. It wasn't a language in the conventional sense, lacking syntax or clear semantic units. Instead, it was a tapestry of pure information, interwoven layers of mathematical constants, complex geometric progressions, and what appeared to be vast, conceptual narratives conveyed through resonant frequencies and light patterns. It was as if the humans were communicating in pure thought, their concepts too abstract, too fundamental for conventional translation. The closest analogy Thuron's research staff could conceive was an immensely complex musical composition, where themes and motifs represented entire philosophical concepts, and their interweaving formed arguments or declarations. "Its approach is steady, Senator," reported the Aegis's Captain Lyra, her voice a calm, modulated tone designed to soothe rather than alarm. "We are maintaining optimal distance, as per protocol. No hostile emissions detected. Its energy output is immense but entirely contained within its propulsion systems and its continuous signal broadcast." Thuron, observing the distant, slowly growing luminescence of the Solara Prime on his viewport, felt a profound sense of awe. "It moves with the grace of a celestial body, Captain, not a construct of metal and energy, but a living star. What could drive such an entity? What could be its purpose after such an extended dormancy?" He knew that to assume human motives were comprehensible through Zalosian frameworks was a profound error. The chasm of 10 millennia was not just temporal, it was conceptual. As the Aegis drew closer, the sheer scale of the Solara Prime became breathtakingly apparent. It was not merely a ship, it was a mobile habitat, a world contained. Its cylindrical form was not uniform, but comprised of interlocking, rotating rings, each vast enough to encompass a planetary city. Lush, simulated biomes, visible through shimmering, transparent panels, scrolled past, revealing verdant forests crystal. Inky oceans and towering structures of alien geometry. This was not a weapon of war, nor a mere transport. It was a fragment of a civilization preserved, a seed of an ancient species now adrift and active. The Solara Prime's signal intensified as the Aegis approached, now accompanied by intricate light displays emanating from its surface, patterns that seemed to respond to the Aegis's own energy signature. It was an invitation, a recognition, perhaps even a challenge. "Attempt a direct communication, Captain," Thuron instructed, his ocular clusters fixed on the Titanic vessel. "Broadcast the universal first contact sequence, then transmit a Zylosian greeting in all known galactic languages. If they communicate in pure concept, let us offer them the concepts of peace, of inquiry, of respect." The Aegis's comms array pulsed, sending out a focused burst of data and light. For a long, agonizing cycle, there was no response, only the Solara Prime's ceaseless, complex signal. Then something shifted. One of the colossal orbital rings on the Solara Prime decelerated, then rotated with astonishing precision, revealing a vast, dark aperture previously unseen. From within this aperture, a smaller vessel emerged. It was not a combat ship, nor a traditional shuttle. It was an elegant, almost ethereal craft, crafted from a translucent, shimmering material, radiating a gentle internal light. It moved with silent, fluid grace, accelerating towards the Aegis. "Unknown contact approaching," Captain Lyra reported, her voice tight with anticipation. "No weapon signatures detected. Its design is utterly unlike anything in our databases." Thuron felt a tremor of anticipation, a culmination of millennia of whispered legends and philosophical conjecture. The moment was upon them. "Hold position, Captain. Prepare for direct contact. This is not merely an encounter with an alien species. This is a reunion with history itself." The human vessel, smaller than the Aegis but still substantial, matched their velocity and positioned itself directly before their main observation port. Through its shimmering hull, Thuron could discern vague shapes, humanoid in form but indistinct, veiled by an inner luminescence. Then a voice, clear and resonant, yet with an ancient, almost melancholic tone, cut through the Aegis's comms, bypassing all encryption, all translation protocols. It was not a Zylosian language, yet every word resonated with perfect comprehension in Thuron's mind, as if the meaning was directly imprinted onto his consciousness. "Greetings, Zylosian hegemony. We are the architects of the Solara Prime. We have heard your call and we acknowledge your caution." The voice paused, a brief, reflective beat. "It has been a long silence. 10 millennia can obscure much and reveal more." Thuron felt a profound sense of disorientation. The translation was instantaneous, flawless, embedded directly into his thoughts. It was a technology beyond anything the hegemony possessed. "Architects of the Solara Prime," Thuron responded, his own Zylosian hum of reverence flowing through the comms. "I am Senator Thuron of the Zylosian hegemony. We come seeking understanding. Your reemergence from the silent nebula, your profound silence for so long it has stirred the galaxy." "Indeed," the human voice replied, its tone unwavering. "Our silence was a necessity, a period of observation and profound introspection. The galaxy in its youthful exuberance was not yet ready for the truths we had uncovered. We sought to understand, to witness, to prepare. And now the time for preparation has ended." A single, humanoid figure, now clearly visible through the shimmering hull of the human vessel, stepped forward. It was tall, slender, and bore an appearance that was simultaneously familiar and utterly alien. Its skin was unblemished. Its eyes, deep pools of starlight, held an ancient, patient wisdom. It wore no adornments, no insignia, only a simple, flowing garment that seemed woven from light itself. "I am Anya," the figure stated, "Prime Architect of the Solaran Initiative. Your exploratory vessel, the Vanguard, merely accelerated a pre-programmed awakening. Its probes, though an intrusion, provided a necessary catalyst. The dangerous ship, as your council designated it, was merely a ripple in a far grander design." Thuron processed this, the layers of meaning in Anya's words unsettling in their calm power. The dangerous ship was not dangerous because of malice, but because of its unintended consequence, the awakening of humanity, a species whose capabilities now revealed themselves as transcendent. "You speak of truths, Architect Anya. What truths required 10,000 years of silence and observation? What could be so profound?" Anya's starlight eyes seemed to gaze not at Thuron, but through him, into the very fabric of existence. "The truth of cosmic entropy, the truth of universal decay, and the truth of a growing shadow that threatens all int. Elegant life, a shadow that has been slowly, inexorably, creeping towards the galactic core for billions of years. Our silence was a vigil, a period of study, of engineering, of devising a solution to a problem that transcends mere stellar empires or territorial disputes. We were not sleeping, Senator. We were building. The revelation resonated through the Aegis's bridge, a seismic shockwave to Thuron's carefully constructed understanding of galactic order. Humanity's silence was not an enigma of disappearance, but a long, deliberate preparation for an existential threat on a cosmic scale. The sheer foresight, the patience, the dedication of such a civilization was almost incomprehensible to the short-lived, conflict-ridden species of the present galaxy. A solution? A shadow? Thuron inquired, his voice barely above a whisper. What shadow architect and what solution could possibly take 10 millennia to devise? Anya's gaze, calm and unwavering, held the weight of untold ages. A fundamental instability in the very fabric of spacetime, Senator. A slow, inexorable tearing, originating from the extragalactic void, threatening to unravel the cohesion of our local cluster. And the solution, it requires a unified galactic response, a network of interdimensional anchors, vast energy conduits, and a collective will that transcends individual species. It requires the awakening of dormant sentinels, the activation of ancient infrastructure. It requires the galaxy to stand as one or face an end that is not fiery and glorious, but cold, silent, and absolute. Anya's words hung heavy in the void, a prophecy and a challenge. The Aegis remained still, caught in the silent, profound aftermath of the human reveal. The true purpose of the Solara Prime's awakening and humanity's long, enigmatic silence was not a return to power, but a desperate, final stand against an enemy beyond all imagining. The dangerous ship was not the Vanguard, nor even the Solara Prime, but the cosmic truth itself. The implications of Prime Architect Anya's words reverberated through Senator Thuron's consciousness, leaving an indelible imprint. The grand, intricate political machinations of the Zalosian hegemony, the territorial disputes, the economic rivalries, all seemed utterly trivial in the face of the cosmic threat Anya had calmly articulated. The Aegis and the human vessel remained suspended in the void, a fragile bridge between two vastly different eras of galactic civilization. Thuron initiated a secure, encrypted transmission back to the Grand Conclave, relaying Anya's message with an urgency that transcended all diplomatic protocol. The initial disbelief and consternation from the High Senators quickly gave way to a growing, unsettling comprehension, as Thuron elaborated on the humans' detailed, scientific explanation of the spacetime instability. Anya's presence, projected as a holographic avatar onto the Aegis's bridge, was a study in serene power. Her voice, devoid of dramatic inflection, presented facts with an undeniable clarity. The initial fissure, a microscopic tear in the membrane of reality, was detected by our advanced gravimetric observatories approximately 10,000 Terran years ago. Its rate of expansion was slow, almost imperceptible at first. We realized that a direct, immediate intervention would be futile. The sheer scale of the phenomenon necessitated a long-term, multi-generational project of unparalleled scope. Our silence was not an abandonment, but a deep dive into the fundamental laws of the universe, a continuous effort to engineer a solution from first principles. She gestured towards the main viewport, where the colossal Solara Prime continued its stately journey towards the galactic core. The Solara Prime is not merely an arcship. It is the initial node in a galactic-scale counterentropic field generator, a component of a vast infrastructure designed to stabilize the failing architecture of spacetime. Its trajectory is dictated by the energy nexus points required for the successful deployment of this network. Praetor Vilas's voice, relayed from the conclave, was filled with a rare, humbling awe. To engineer a solution for such a vast, abstract problem, this is a level of scientific foresight and capability that transcends our every understanding. Why the secrecy? Why not inform the nascent galactic powers earlier? Anya's starlight eyes held a flicker of ancient sorrow. We considered it, but the galactic civilizations of that era were too young, too prone to internecine conflicts, too focused on expansion and individual survival. To present such a monumental, abstract threat would have caused widespread panic, distrust, and ultimately, a fragmentation of effort. We chose the path of quiet preparation, knowing that by the time the threat became undeniable, we would have the means to present a viable, actionable solution, along with the proof of its necessity. She paused, her gaze sweeping over the Zalosian bridge crew. Your species, the Zalosians, along with others, have achieved a remarkable degree of interstellar cooperation and technological advancement in our absence. The galaxy is now, perhaps, ready to comprehend the true scale of its shared destiny. The discussions that followed were no longer debates of fear, but intense, focused inquiries into the physics, the engineering, and the philosophy behind humanity's millennia-long project. Anya patiently answered every question, her explanations layered with data that stretched the limits of Xylosian scientific comprehension, yet always grounded in irrefutable logic. She explained the concept of interdimensional anchors, vast, dormant constructs spread throughout the galaxy by humanity during their initial expansion, now awaiting activation. She described the necessary energy conduits, capable of drawing power directly from stellar cores, and the intricate coordination required to synchronize these efforts across vast interstellar distances. Thuron felt a surge of profound admiration for these ancient humans. They were not conquerors, nor aloof deities. They were pragmatic, logical, and ethically driven guardians, burdened by a knowledge too vast for their contemporaries, and by a responsibility they had borne in silence for countless generations. The dangerous ship, the Vanguard, was no longer a symbol of accidental provocation, but a serendipitous alarm, a premature call that had nevertheless brought about the inevitable, crucial awakening. The Solara Prime was not dangerous in itself, but its purpose was dangerous, a desperate gambit against cosmic annihilation. A full week passed in intense dialogue, the Aegis maintaining its position alongside the Solara Prime. Anya, through her avatar, continued to educate the Xylosian delegation, and by extension, the entire conclave, whose members now hung on every word, every data packet. The initial fear of an unknown, powerful species had transformed into a collective sense of awe, tempered by the stark reality of the impending cosmic disaster. The Grand Conclave was no longer divided. Praetor Vilas, now deeply humbled, became one of the strongest advocates for immediate, full cooperation with the humans. Their methods, their foresight, it is breathtaking, Vilas admitted to Thuron during a private communication. We viewed them through the lens of our own limited experience, assuming conflict, assuming expansionism. They were simply preparing to save us all, and we almost engaged them in a foolish skirmish. He shook his head, a gesture of deep regret. The greatest empires often fall not due to external enemies, Praetor, but due to internal arrogance, Thuron mused. The humans, it seems, understood this fundamental truth and chose a different path. A harder path, perhaps, but one that has brought them to this moment as our potential saviors. The first major step towards unity was formalized. The Xylosian hegemony, in an unprecedented move, offered its entire scientific and logistical fleet to assist the Solaran initiative. Plans were drawn, vast stellar resources allocated. The Solara Prime, continuing its journey, became a beacon of a new galactic cooperation, its powerful signal now acting as a guide for Xylosian vessels, not a source of mystery. Humanity was no longer silent. It was a rallying cry, a promise of collective action against a common, ultimate foe. As the Solara Prime neared the galactic core, its internal luminosity flared, then stabilized. Anya informed Thuron that the vessel was preparing for its primary activation sequence, the first anchor of the counterentropic field. The scale of the undertaking was staggering. The sheer energy required to initiate the process would dwarf any known stellar engineering project. The Xylosian fleet, along with eager representatives from allied species who had quickly learned of the unfolding cosmic drama, formed a vast, protective cordon around the Solara Prime, a silent testament to the fragile, yet growing, unity. Then the true twist, even grander and more profound than the revelation of the space-time fissure, began to unfold. As the Solara Prime achieved its optimal position and initiated the activation sequence, its continuous complex signal, which had served as a universal translator and informational conduit, subtly changed. It deepened, broadened, encompassing a vast new spectrum of frequencies. It was no longer just a message from humanity. It was a resonance, an echo. On the bridge of the Aegis, the Xylosian science officers stared at their readouts with open-mouthed awe. Senator, the signal, it's not just coming from the Solara Prime anymore. It's reverberating from countless points across the galaxy. Dormant energy signatures, identical to the Solara Primes, are activating simultaneously. Thuron's ocular clusters widened in shock. What does this mean, Architect Anya? He transmitted, his voice edged with a new tremor of wonder. Anya's avatar smiled, a faint, ethereal luminescence radiating from her. It means, Senator, that the Solara Prime was not the only Ark ship. It was merely the first to awaken, the primary catalyst. Our silence was truly galactic in scope. For 10 millennia, hundreds of such vessels, each a repository of human knowledge, technology, and population, have lain dormant in strategic locations across the stellar arm, awaiting the precise moment of awakening, awaiting the coordinated activation signal. The galactic map on the Aegis's bridge erupted with 1,000 new crimson flares, each representing a newly awakened Ark ship, a colossal human sentinel vessel, each now beginning its own intricate synchronized movements, radiating the same powerful, complex signal. Humanity had not vanished from one spot. It had simply retracted into a vast, galaxy-spanning network of slumbering giants. Their long silence was a strategic withdrawal, a grand hibernation. The Solara Prime was not unique. It was one among many. The scale of their preservation, their preparation, was beyond anything previously conceived. This network, Thuron murmured almost to himself, the sheer audacity of the plan breathtaking. It is the counter-entropic field itself, isn't it? These vessels are the anchors, the energy conduits, the fabric of your solution. Precisely, Senator, Anya confirmed, her voice imbued with a quiet triumph. Each Ark ship is a living node designed to generate and sustain localized pockets of space-time stability, woven together into a galaxy-spanning net. The collective field, when fully active, will reinforce the failing cosmic architecture, preventing the final, catastrophic tear. Our silence was a cocoon, protecting our nascent future, allowing us to evolve the consciousness and the technology required for this ultimate task. And now the cocoon breaks open. The revelation was profound, overturning every single assumption about humanity, about cosmic history, about the very nature of advanced civilizations. They were not merely a species that had disappeared. They were a species that had chosen to disappear, to enter a galaxy-wide, pre-programmed dormancy, only to re-emerge at the moment of ultimate need, not as invaders, but as the silent, patient saviors of a universe they had quietly watched over. The final image projected onto the conclave's main view screen and shared across countless galactic channels was of the coalescing energy field. From each awakened Ark ship, a brilliant column of pure, white energy lanced upwards, intertwining with its counterparts from other vessels, forming a vast, intricate lattice of light that spread across the galactic arm. It was a net woven from starlight and human ingenuity, pulsating with a collective will to defy the inevitable. The cosmic threat, once an abstract terror, now had a tangible, evolving defense. Thuron, watching the breathtaking spectacle unfold, felt a profound emotional gravity settle within his being. The initial fear, the confusion, the arrogance of assuming human weakness, all had melted away, replaced by an overwhelming sense of humility and hope. Humanity, long underestimated, long shrouded in myth, had returned not with fire and fury, but with a quiet strength, an enduring wisdom, and a solution forged in 10 millennia of silence. They had been the silent guardians, the unseen architects, and now they were the unifying force. The future of the Zalosian hegemony, indeed the future of the entire galaxy, was no longer a solitary journey into the unknown. It was a shared path, illuminated by the awakened stars of humanity, forged in the crucible of a common cosmic threat, and bound by the profound understanding that sometimes the greatest power is not wielded in a roar, but honed in a long, patient, and utterly magnificent silence. The universe, once vast and indifferent, now held the promise of unity, a testament to the enduring spirit of life and the quiet, ethical, and unbelievably powerful ingenuity of a species that had chosen, for 10,000 years, to simply listen and to prepare. The dangerous ship had been called back, and in its place, a silent, slumbering galaxy had found its voice again.